It's brunch with Brian. Yay, and we're back. So today I wanted to talk about, I always like to talk about exciting things, and today it is a lot of national days. So I actually go on this one website called checkaday.com and I see what the national day is. And sometimes I will actually structure or get an idea for my talk. So today it's Spider-Man Day. It's World Wide Web Day. So there's a lot of interesting things. World Wide Web. It's also Planner Day. So how do you plan your days? Let's talk about planners. Okay. How do you plan your day, and do you plan your day? How planned is your day? Do you actually work off of a to-do list? Do you have a day planner that you write in your times and your schedule? Or how do you structure your day to be the most effective? I basically want you to be the most effective you can be. And so I think you should work off of what I call a role control schedule. I'll tell you what, I have this form printed. If you'd like to get this from me, I could actually send it to you. This is called a role control schedule. It's got all your times, and it breaks it down into half-hour slots. So it's, from 9:30 to 10, from 10:30 to, 11. And it's got every single half an hour broken down on a one-page daily schedule. But it doesn't just have the times and what you're planning to do during those times. It also has the roles that you're going to be playing when you are doing those action steps. So if you wrote into your planner tonight, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to make seller calls from 6 o'clock to 6:30 and from 6:30 to 7. You write that in both spots and you say live seller calls. I'm going to be calling sellers tonight. Now, what roles are you going to play when you sellers? One of the roles you're going to play is business owner. Okay, you're going to play. Now, I always like to put the right adjective with what you're playing. The role you're playing when you call somebody is you are a real estate investor and a real estate business owner. So I want you to be professional. So I would say professional real estate business owner. That's kind of a wordy role. Normally, when I like to look at roles, I like to have two words, like motivated investor. So, can you call yourself legit a motivated investor? Is that one of the roles that you play during your day? Now, you don't have to play motivated investor except for about 5 hours a week, right? 5 or 10 hours a week. That's the rest of the week. Be who you want to be whoever you are. Work your job, be a teacher, be a chiropractor, whatever you are. You're playing a different role there. And when you're with your kids, you're playing mom or dad, fun mom and happy dad and all that. So those are roles that you play at certain times. But when it's time to work, when it's time to do seller calls, what roles do you have to be in? You can't be this distracted dad, because you're not going to be effective on your calls, right? If your kids are running around, you're trying to make your calls and they keep grabbing on your leg, that you're going to be distracted dad and not focused real estate investor. So when you're making your calls, you actually go through a few different phases when you're doing a closing call. You're going to play professional real estate investor, real estate business owner. Okay. You're also going to play friendly neighbor. That is part of every call when you build rapport, and it's important to build rapport. If you just call them up and say, okay, you're the owner. Okay, here's the deal I can do. And if you don't take that couple minutes and say, oh, I hear your dog barking in the background. What kind of dog you have? Oh, I have 2 dogs. Oh, so you live over by the high school there. One of my kids went to that high school, or I went to high school, or, some way to play friendly neighbor. You got to play friendly neighbor, because their tendency when you call a seller, especially a FSBO seller thinks they're smart enough to sell their house by themselves without getting help from an agent. So they already kind of think, okay, I'm smart. And what do smart people do? They kind of look at people skeptically, and they're kind of like judging. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this real? And they're kind of skeptical. So how do you knock them out of skeptical seller role, which a lot of sellers, especially when you start talking about taking monthly payments, Sellers will get skeptical sometimes. So what do you do there? That's where you get more friendly neighbor. Actually, the friendly neighbor goes before the part where you're pitching the deal. So you should have already laid the groundwork where they're already kind of in that friendly neighbor role, and they think, oh, I'm talking to a friendly neighbor who does real estate. I'll tell them all about my house and I'll have them come over, and I'll be flexible. Okay. So, but if they are stuck in that skeptical seller role, what are they thinking? Oh, I don't trust this person. I don't know who they are. What are they trying to do? Steal my house? What is this monthly payment stuff? Okay, so that's the approach of a skeptical seller. That's why you got to knock them out of that role by being friendly. And when you play friendly neighbor, you kind of force them into that role. Now, some of them won't do it. Some of them you'll say, "Oh, your dog's barking. What a cute dog. It's your dog has a cute bark. What kind of dog is that?" And then they'll say, "Whatever. Let's just talk about this. I'm in a hurry." And so if you get that, then obviously they're not open to going into friendly neighbor role. But you tried, and you always got to try. And sometimes try the next time too, and they're in a different mood, and all of a sudden they're a little more, they're not so grouchy, and they talked to you already once, and they got to like you a little bit. So again, always try to get sellers into the friendly neighbor role, at least for a little bit at the early part of the call, to build rapport. Rapport builds trust. If they don't know you from Adam, and now you're coming over to their house in 2 hours, and they're going to sign an agreement with you that lets you take over their mortgage, basically. Based on what? Based on what trust? Based on the trust that you built as a friendly neighbor. So that's why when you are writing out your schedule today, or when you're using your planner, like I said, it's National Planner Day today. So when you're using your planner or whatever schedule you're using, I want you to write your task, have the time there, 8 to 9 or whatever it is. Write in the action steps, the tasks that you're going to do, and then think about what roles you want to play. Okay, successful real estate investor, I want to play that role. I also want to play master closer on the phone. The real roles you're going to play on the phone is professional real estate investor. You got to come off professional, like you know what you're talking about. Then you're going to come out, then you're going to play friendly neighbor to build some rapport. Then you're going to go into the closer role. This is where, and some people aren't real comfortable. They never done sales. And if I say, okay, now go into your master closer role, they go, what? I don't really relate to that. So what is a role that I play on calls that's different from master closer? Lynette likes to play closer. If you've seen Lynette on the phone, she's a killer closer. She's going for the close, and she's really good at it. Okay, but I'm not always that. That's not always my approach. I have a little softer approach, and I call my approach the good neighbor role. So, the good shepherd role. So I take over this role I call good shepherd, where I'm basically selling your house is hard. It's emotional. It can be challenging. It can be scary. Okay. You're scared to make a mistake. And here I am playing a good shepherd, guiding you through this process of selling your house and making it easy. And you don't even have to talk to agents. You don't have to talk to anybody. Talk to me one time and we'll buy your house. Then all you got to do is go down to the title company or the attorney, sign a couple papers, and it's a done deal. So you make it easy for them. You're friendly to them. You ease them through this sometimes painful process. So that's playing good shepherd. And I love that role of good shepherd. That comes very naturally to me. So if you like that role, if you don't really feel like killer closer and you can't really psych into that role, play the role of good shepherd. Or on closing calls, listen, if you don't really relate to good shepherd, and if you don't really relate to, tough closer, just be a quality presenter. Think of yourself as, I am a top quality, high quality presenter, or an efficient, effective presenter. You pick the adjective, whatever adjective gets you excited. Effective, presenter. Because what are you doing? You're basically making a presentation. You're making about a 5 or 10 minute presentation. You've got the script. The seller financing closing call script is the most important 2.5 pages in this business. If you don't know that, that's in your what to say system. So when you're reading that script, what role are you in? Okay. Are you in good shepherd? You certainly, that script is written so that you could play good shepherd. That script is also written so you could play killer closer. So what's kind of your approach? Or do you just want to be a quality presenter? Do you not really relate with either of those roles, but you get into, doing a good job and performing at a high level? You want to have peak performance. You're a peak performer. Okay, so maybe you think of yourself as a peak performer during these calls. That means you get every word right. You don't stumble, you don't stammer, you don't stutter, you don't say the wrong thing, you don't ask dumb questions. You're sharp on the phone, you're thinking ahead. You're not thinking of, you're thinking about what they're saying, you're taking notes. All this stuff comes into play when you are an effective presenter. Okay, so a lot of, and those are 3 different roles that you can kind of pick and choose from. But again, when you have something in your schedule, I want you to start thinking in advance. Well, when I get to that part of my schedule, what roles do I have to get into? Okay, so if it says I got to go to work, I got to be at work at 9 o'clock, what's your work role? You probably play a lot of different roles at your work. And sometimes you're a boss to some people and you're an employee to another person. So somebody's your boss and you're somebody's boss. That means you got to play at least 2 roles. You got to play boss and you got to play, I don't like to say subordinate, but you're an employee in the company, whatever. So again, now how you play those roles, the quality that you play those roles, the adjectives you apply to those roles. Let's say you're an account executive, whatever that means. Okay, at some company. That means you're talking to customers or whatever. Now, are you a motivated account executive? Are you an effective account executive? Or are you kind of a lazy account executive or an inefficient account executive? You choose your adjectives in life. What kind of mom and dad are you? Are you a fun mom or a fun dad? Do you make jokes with the kids? Do you get the kids to laugh? Do you do fun things? Do you schedule fun activities? Or are you more of a serious mom or dad? Now, that's not a bad thing. You can be a more serious mom and dad and be great, so long as love. What the baseline has to be loving dad, loving mom. You can be a serious, loving mom or a serious, loving dad, but you got to be loving. Loving is the key there. So pick great adjectives, figure out what roles you're playing in life, and then pick great adjectives and think about them when you're going into those roles and write them down in advance on your role control schedule. Again, if you want that form, go ahead and send me an email at wolfcouple@gmail.com, but put Brian in caps in the subject line and just say, please send me role control schedule. Okay, and that's, like I said, a place where you can write in. I'm sorry, 70 times 7. You're Mike, right? Is that right? Do I remember your name right? I know you told me once. Noel. No, you're Noel, right? Are you Noel? I don't remember. I'm sorry. Role control schedule. Yes, you want one. Yes, I'm pretty sure your name's Noel, but remind me if I'm wrong. Morning, KJ. You got the hearts going. Good job. Good morning. By day, Tony. By night, property man. I love it. Now, what's your adjective, though? So I like the property man. So that's kind of a really cool thing to think of yourself as. But what are you a motivated property man? Are you an effective? I know you, Tony. So you're an effective property man. You're a motivated property man. And whatever juicy adjectives you like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something extra good. Confident. That's one I use a lot. I also use well-prepared winner. Well-prepared winner. Write that role down. I want you to play well-prepared winner. I also want you to have this role of bold leader in your life. And I want you to also have, so write those down. When are you a bold leader, okay, in your life? I want you to be a leader as much as you can be. And, a confident and a well-prepared winner. Okay, well-prepared winner. So you go into any situation, you come out victorious because why? Well-prepared. Because you did your role control schedule and you know what roles you're going to play. Now, if you go into a meeting and you haven't thought it out in advance and you haven't thought, now what roles should I play in this meeting? You're just going to fall into your, quiet employee role or something, But if you say, I want to be, aggressive contributor in this meeting, that's going to be my role. I'm going to be an aggressive contributor. If you think that that's going to, that's part of your plan and that's going to help you get move ahead in your life, in your career, then that's a role that you want to take on, even if you've never played it before. But if you plan some scripts and steps in advance, you can play any role. I'm telling you, even if you don't feel like a role comes natural, like maybe you're not a natural bold leader, you can absolutely play that role. You can be an actor or an actress once you have the right scripts. The right scripts really help you get into the role. Yes, I'm in my professor role. Today, yes, when I'm doing my brunch with Brian's, I'm in, loving, caring trainer, and motivated teacher, and professor who wants you guys to succeed. Okay, yes. So I'm in my professor role. Hey, Isabel, love it. Love you too. You're so great. Roger, good morning, Roger. And yes, great tips. Okay. Good morning, Brian. And I am a transaction engineer. There you go. Now, see, now that's the role you're in, is you're in this role of transaction engineer. So let's throw an adjective on that one. Let's say I am an effective. I always like effective, efficient. You feel like you're doing the job. I'm an effective transaction engineer. So to me, an effective transaction engineer, you're doing multiple deals per year, not multiple deals per month. If you do multiple deals per year, of different types, especially, I love buy and hold cash flow type deals, creative financing deals. I gravitate towards those because those are the deals you make the most money on over time. We've made over $700,000 on one house that we bought and just held on to for 24 years. Now that's a long time. We had the house for 24 years, but after 24 years, we made 700 grand. So that is, a lot of money that we didn't really put in much effort on. That's passive income on that property. So you're an enthusiastic. That's another adjective I love. I'm an enthusiastic transaction engineer. Absolutely. Resourceful. I love that one. I use that one all the time. Resourceful problem solver. That's awesome. So anytime you're faced with a problem, you think, what's your normal approach? Some people, you look at a problem and you go, oh, that looks hard. Well, I suppose I'll have to solve it at some point. I guess I better get to it. And then, you just kind of grind it out and it takes you a week. But if you go at it like, I am a resourceful problem solver, all of a sudden you're going on the internet, you're checking this out, you're getting the help you need, you're making the calls, you're doing this. All of a sudden, boom, the thing is done in an hour and a half because you decided that you were a resourceful problem solver, and you went to the source where you needed to get the help. Awesome. The reward is worth solving problems. Yes, because wealth is a reward for solving problems. So when you solve your problems, wealth is your reward. I am an effective transaction engineer. Love it. 2 questions. Put in an offer last week on an offer in a trust. Realtor said you have to talk to the attorneys. Okay, if it's a trust, obviously somebody owns this property in the trust. And so you obviously want to get down to the owner. When you are going through a realtor, it's hard. It's very hard. The realtor won't often let you get on the phone with the actual seller. They want to control it. They don't want to have you as some, outside force influencing the mind of their. Now, sometimes they will. If you build good rapport with your realtor and you say, look, I've explained this to people for quite a while and many times on the phone. I might be a little better at explaining this, or bringing it to them. And if they're on the fence, maybe you push to have them let you talk to them. But if you build a good rapport, now what does a realtor want? They want their commission. And a lot of these properties have been languishing on the market. And all of a sudden you come in and say, hey, if they just take monthly payments, I'll pay them full price for the house. And so they hopefully they get excited and they say, wow, let me bring this to my seller. I hope I can sell this. And they're kind of on your team. And sometimes they'll even share stuff with you about the seller that they probably shouldn't, as a having fiduciary responsibility. But they'll tell you stuff and they'll say, oh, you know what, we should offer it this way or whatever. And they'll help you. And so if you can get good rapport going with the realtor, they want that commission. They want to help you get the deal closed too. So that's a plus if you can talk to the person. Now, if it's in a trust, somebody put it in a trust. So somebody has to sign a piece of paper at the end of this deal. And who is the one who's going to sign that piece of paper? And that's the one you got to talk to. But again, a lot of times it's hard to get through the realtor to physically talk to them yourself. Sometimes you just have to give your best messaging to the realtor and say, hey, pitch it, buddy, go in there and sell it. Okay. So that was one part of that question. What was the second part? Home is in a trust. Now, again, if it's listed and you go around the realtor and find the owner, the realtor was going to hate you. and they're gonna try to blow up the deal even if it means a commission. So don't try to like go around realtors and source the seller's contact information yourself. It's pretty easy. There's a lot of skip trace programs. We have a skip trace program built into our CRM that costs 10 cents per skip trace, so it's really cheap. There's a lot of sources you could buy skip traces for, like a little package deal where you get 10 skip traces for $10 or something like that. I don't know. Do a little research. A lot of times you can find people in the white pages reverse directory. You look up the address in this reverse lookup directory and it gives you the name of the owner. And then you can look up the owner. Okay. You can also look up people on public records. You can look up their address. If you go to the county records, there's property records on that house. And sometimes you can find a name attached to that property. Sometimes you can find stuff. You can even go through Zillow. Sometimes Zillow will have a link to your county website, and it'll have a little link that you can click on. It takes you right to the property record in the county court, in the county records. So that's another way. But again, I do not recommend going around realtors. They'll dynamite the deal if they can. So work through the realtor, build as much trust as you can, and try to find out. You can do research to find out more. Hey JT, how you doing? Happy Thursday. You have 3 sub-2 seller financing. Awesome. Need some gap funding partners. Okay, so what does that mean, guys? What's gap funding? It means you need a little bit of money to close a deal. Not all the money. You don't need $200,000 to buy the $200,000 house, but you need a little bit of money to do maybe like a down payment, or something to fill a gap, basically. So not a huge amount of money, but sometimes guys, you can put together a subject to deal, but you just need closing costs. Now in Florida, if you're buying properties on subject to and you're taking ownership of them, there is what they call doc stamps down in Florida, which is you end up paying about 3% closing costs down there. So that's halfway. That's some decent consideration there. So if you're buying a $300,000 house, you're probably paying about $9,000 in transfer taxes alone. So I have a student. We have a longtime student in Florida who all he does is sandwich lease purchases. Now he saves himself the costs up front, the transfer costs, the doc stamps, but he's not in as good a position as Power, potentially. It's always a little more challenging when you don't own the house. So I don't really recommend that strategy. And that's why I would recommend, if you can, get financing even from what we call them is equity partners sometimes, or gap funding partners, somebody you can come up with a little bit of money. Now, sometimes this is the top part of the deal. You're going to 100% LTV sometimes. This isn't a loan without risk. And so sometimes instead of just paying people 8% interest on that money, sometimes you actually have to cut them in as an equity partner in the deal, and you give them 20% of the deal. Or listen, if you couldn't do the deal without their 23,000, cut them in for 50-50. If you find a really good person who has funds like this and you're finding the deals, but you're stymied because you don't have the money to close them, and they're the person you need, maybe you're a little more generous on the first couple deals. You decide on this one. But if it means getting the deal, obviously the deal is the thing. You got to get that deal. Deal Machine, that's one of those resources, guys. Deal Machine. We use RealFlow. We use a branded version, a whitelisted version of RealFlow, and RealFlow has skip traces for 10 cents each in the system. So, but you can check that out. You can just do a search for skip trace, and a lot of these, systems like the different programs have bells and whistles that you can do stuff with. Lots of free options. If you're willing to do the work, yes, there are. Yes, lots of free options. Thank you. I'm a great resource. There you go, guys. That's true. You can ask me questions, and I want to be a resource for you in your career. That's why I open it up for questions. Okay. So great to see you guys. We've used them both. Right now, I'm into RealFlow, and I'm kind of liking RealFlow, but that's the one we're using right now. So, sometimes you kind of used to it and you start to like it because you're using it. But it does have a lot of really great features. So I guess I would give RealFlow a pretty good high recommendation. Hey, Nick, appreciate your consistency. Yes, I'm always here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at the same time. So keep on coming back. Keep being amazing and becoming even better. Rock on, everyone. Hey, great. That's a great way to end. Great comments, Nick. I love it. All right, so guys, let's wrap it up with a nice, what's our affirmation for today? Uh, I track my roles. I track my roles. Well, that's what we're talking about here is tracking it with a planner and just being more aware. Look, you don't have to know every second. Like if I broke into your day at some unexpected moment and said, what role are you in right now? If you thought about it for 2 seconds, you'd be able to say, okay, let me think about it. I guess I'm in this role. But I want you to be more aware so that you're just kind of aware of the different roles you're going in and out of. And I want you to get better at role fluidity, which means switching from one role to the next when the time is appropriate. When you walk in the door, you don't want to still be grouchy commuter. You want to be loving mom and dad, And so again, sometimes you have to switch roles very quickly. So that's role fluidity. All right. So I keep track of my roles. Let's do that. Okay. 3 times on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I keep track of my roles. I keep track of my roles. I keep track of my roles. Yes. All right. And that will help you be more effective in life because you'll be aware of what role you're playing and you'll be able to put a good adjective on it. A lot of times you're playing roles, but you're grouchy in that role. So you're playing, cook. So you're cooking everybody dinner and you're kind of grouchy cook because you don't really want to be cooking dinner. You want to be over there talking to the kids. But, what do you got to do? You got to say, loving cook or excited cook or something like that. You got to switch. Sometimes you just got to switch your adjectives. You can't get out of some roles. Okay. And so you got to just figure out what your adjectives are that make you happy and productive. All right, guys. So let's do our deep breathing. Nice deep breath in. Big smile. Hold it a little bit and let it go. Relax. Another one. Nice and deep. Hold it a little bit and let it go. Big smile now. 3 and in. Good. Hold it and let it go. Oh, I always get juiced up when I do that. That's great. Don't forget to do that during the day. If you're ever kind of just feeling logy and you're saying, oh, I don't feel like making my calls, boom, 3 deep breaths and you're there. All right. So until I see you guys tomorrow, what are you going to do? Do you like this new setup? I decided to go in the kitchen today. What the heck? So I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep expecting success, getting awesome training from the Wolf Cup land, taking